Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are taking a look at another 2020 Collecta Figure, and this one, as you can see right in front of you, is their beautiful new Microraptor. At first glance, I really feel like this figure is really beautifully done. Absolutely phenomenal as far as the detailing of the feathers goes, but also a really nice paint application on the figure as well. One that I feel like is kind of underrated already, and it hasn't even been officially released yet. A lot of people don't seem to be too fond of the figure, or at least that's kind of the feedback I've been getting on this Microraptor. But me personally, I really have a very different opinion, because I think in person this Microraptor is just gorgeous. So without further ado, let's get a closer look so you can see what I see, and maybe I can change your mind on this Microraptor. So, looking at the body, one of the things I think you're probably going to take note of straight away is the iridescence of the figure. It has that really nice kind of shiny appearance to the feathers. It's very similar to the PNSO version, how the PNSO Microraptor shined like this, and I feel like it honestly looks phenomenal on the figure, and I really love that they include that, both companies that they've included that on the Microraptor. If you've ever seen a species of duck called the cayuga duck, for instance, that duck really has a very similar look to the way the feathers shine on that species, similar to what you see on this Microraptor, and the way you kind of turn it and shine it in the light, it almost looks like the feathers kind of change colors and everything. It really does look very cool when you first take it out of the packaging and take a look at it. Honestly, is amazing to look at in person. But once we actually start taking a look at the head sculpt, you can see the head sculpt is really nicely done as far as the very fine detailing of the head goes, and this is a pretty small head. You can see next to my fingers here, the head sculpt is pretty darn small, but you can see just how much incredible detail they've crammed into the head sculpt of the Microraptor. You've also got a pretty nice looking bluish coloration that rings around the eye, and a very large black eye. For the eye coloration, it does look really good, looks to be placed quite nicely. The teeth are painted pretty nicely. You can see a little sloppiness on the lower jaw here that has run down onto the jawline of the Microraptor, but for the most part it looks pretty good. The upper jaw looks decent as far as the teeth go. The teeth are all sculpted together, so they're not sculpted individually or anything, but considering how small this is, it's not something I would have expected. You can see that they do look very good as far as the sculpt goes, but again, there's a little bit of sloppiness on this side as far as the lower jaw goes when it comes to the teeth. But for the most part, I still think it looks pretty nice. The skin flap there looks to be sporting some pretty nice detail, as the mouth is open quite nice and wide. The tongue inside the mouth is sculpted pretty nicely as well, and sports a nice pinkish coloration, a very realistic tone of color for the inside of the mouth. You can also kind of get a glimpse of the upper side of the mouth there. There's not too much going on in the way of detailing up there, but what is present does look pretty good. The nostrils are also sculpted out right there. You can almost see a little bit of bluish coloration up here on the top of the head. As we move back into the neck, you can start to see the feathering pick up, and it looks really nice. Lots of varying feather sizes and everything, and lots of really nicely done detailing as far as the feathers go. But due to that kind of iridescence that you do see on the feathers, it's a little hard to pick up that detailing on camera, as it shines and the light is shining all off of it, kind of reflecting the detail away, making it a little hard to pick up on camera, but it is definitely there, really nicely sculpted as far as the feather details go. Once we get down here into the arms of the Microraptor, you can really see how nice the feather detail is now as we run out these very large flight feathers. You can see how incredible the detailing is as far as the feathers go. Look at that. That is just gorgeous. Collecta knocked this one out of the park as far as the feather details go. It looks beautiful, and again, the coloration of it is really nicely done. You have that nice kind of shiny black, but as you get out here into like what you would call the flight feathers of the arm, you can really see lots of different variation of color included, making the feathers kind of shine, but they just look super cool. Again, similar to like I had stated with the cayuga duck, has that same style of shiny feather appearance to it like that animal does. You can also see the fingers sticking out up here, really beautifully painted with a very nice realistic coloration, very nicely detailed. And then on the underside you can also see how nicely done the hands are, along with the fingers, really beautiful coloration. I feel like the tones of color used for the actual skin detail was a good choice, similar to what you see up here on the face, as far as like almost like a goldish brown, very realistic tones. And then as we look at the feathers on the underside here, look at how incredible the detailing of the feathers is. That is just insane. Absolutely beautiful work on the part of Collecta on this Microraptor. The fact that people are a little iffy on this is just kind of baffling to me, and I'm hoping this review will change everyone's mind once you see how insanely well sculpted this figure is overall and how beautifully painted it is. Again, look at how nicely that shines, and the colors kind of transition back and forth as I turn it. It looks so gorgeous in person. As we lead back here into the legs, you start to see some larger feathers sticking out off of the back of the leg here. As we move down, even the fine feathering here of the leg looks really, really nice. You get down into the foot, you can see that skin coloration similar to what you saw in the hands and the face. Pick up here again the really nice tone, and the black coloration is kind of washed throughout, helping to make it look quite realistic. You've got that little sickle claw over there, and the nicely sculpted feathers that stick out of the back of the legs look great. Once again, they had that really nice shine, similar to what you see up on the wings as far as the color changing goes, but also just in general, beautiful sculpting of the feathers. And I love how the feathers have kind of imperfections like this area right here. Really nice dose of realism that you would actually probably find on a real living Microraptor. Again, you don't see that kind of imperfection over here. The feathers on this side look a little more perfect, honestly, but you don't see that over here. So really, really cool. Very small attention to detail, things like that. I really love when companies do that. You see that beautiful sculpted foot over here as well. Even the underside looks to be done really nicely. And again, that shine off of these feathers looks incredible. As we lead up here into the tail, once we actually get out into the tail, you can see how unbelievable the tail feathers look. But again, look at all the different colors included. There are all sorts of colors of like greens and golds, and almost even looks like there might be some purples in there. It really looks amazing and gives the entire tail feather area such a fantastic appearance, and really makes the entire tail feather area look extremely striking. And you can see that same deal here on the underside. The detailing of the feathers, the sculpting of the feathers, once again is just beyond beautiful everywhere you look, but the coloration included is so cool, so flashy. So this Microraptor is just absolutely off the charts beautiful, if you ask me. I don't understand why anybody would be unhappy with this Microraptor, and hopefully actually seeing it in this review, anyone that was unhappy with it initially will hopefully have changed their mind, because it is just gorgeous in person. Another impressive feature of the Microraptor is how well it balances. You can see that these feathers that stick out of the back of the legs helps it to balance, so it's in a very cool, very dynamic position, very cool pose, and those feathers help the entire thing to balance out so well, so it really does not have any issues whatsoever as far as balancing goes. As far as a size on our Microraptor, from the head to the tip of the tail feathers, you're looking at about close to 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters in length. If we're going to go for like a wingspan, you're going to see it at about 6 inches, just a little under, more like 5 3/4 inches, or about 15 centimeters. And for a height, if we're going to go to the tail feathers, you're going to see it at about 4.5 inches, or around 11.5 centimeters. And then for the wing here, probably about 4 1/4 inches, or around 11 centimeters, somewhere in that range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, Robert Muldoon, and the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, hopefully giving you an idea of how well this figure here sizes up next to these. You can see that it's not an extremely large figure, but I think as far as a Microraptor goes, it's probably one of the bigger Microraptors that I have in my collection. But at the same time, like I said, it's not a large figure. It is still really, really nicely sized, so it's not something that's going to take up too much room in your collection, but it's also not something that's just too small if you are a fan of larger figures. I really feel like it's probably a perfect size for a Microraptor. So this 2020 Collecta Microraptor is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And as far as the Collecta 2020 line goes, this is 2 for 2 when it comes to the figures that I have currently from the 2020 line. As far as the overall beauty, sculpt, everything, this and the Bajatosaurus are absolutely fantastic. So the 2020 line here, as far as my channel goes, is definitely shaping up to be quite a hit, and I kind of expected it to be just that because I was really quite impressed with all the very cool figures that Collecta has coming out this year, and they really do have quite a large amount of figures coming out this year, including some very surprising species, which hopefully we'll get to take a look at some point here on the channel. But as far as this Microraptor goes, I think it's phenomenal. The sculpt work as far as the feathers go is just amazing. The feather detail, if you actually get down up and close to the feathers, is really just kind of jaw-dropping, honestly. I feel like you really need to get this figure in person and just get nice and close and take a look at how much work Collecta put into the feather detail on this Microraptor, and you'll be probably just as amazed as I am. As far as the pose goes, I really think the pose looks very cool. Kind of gives off the feeling that the Microraptor maybe feels threatened and is trying to display that throughout the positioning of the body, kind of maybe trying to scare away another Microraptor. I feel like if you purchased two Microraptors from Collecta, they would look amazing in comparison to each other. It would be a really cool diorama to create with two Microraptors kind of trying to show dominance toward each other. As far as the paintwork goes, aside from the teeth being a little bit sloppy, I think the paintwork is just unreal on this figure, and it looks so incredibly cool. Way better than I expected it to look, honestly, and once I actually pulled it out of the package and started to take a look at it, I was just blown away by the overall beauty on this Microraptor. Really fantastic work as far as the paintwork goes, showing nice dark blacks but with that beautiful iridescence on it. And then once you actually get out to the edges of the feathers and the kind of larger feathers like the flight feathers, the tail feathers, and the feathers down on the rear of the leg, you can see that beautiful shine all over that with the iridescence, but also the really cool appearance of the many different variations of color included, really making the feathers shine and kind of transition back and forth between colors in an extremely realistic but ever so beautiful way. So Collecta did a fantastic job on this Microraptor, in my opinion. So if you do want to pick this up, make sure you keep checking back to djenkins.com and everythingdinosaur.com, as both of those websites will most certainly be stocking this Microraptor when it is officially released. So make sure that when this does officially go into stock on one of those websites, you pick it up right away. But until then, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.